A wild bobcat and a gentle rescue dog should never have become brothers. But the moment Scout was brought into that home, trembling and alone, Charlie wrapped him in a kind of love no one expected. They slept together, played together, trusted each other completely. Until one day, Scout sensed something was wrong. What came next would break hearts around the world, and change the bobcat's life forever. This is the story of a friendship the world was never supposed to see. A bond between a wild our-referent bobcat named Scout and a gentle old dog named Charlie, who treated him not as a predator or a burden, but as family. From the moment Scout stepped into Mark's home, shaking with fear, Charlie approached him with a softness that only the kindest souls possess. Scout, born to roam forests and hunt alone, suddenly found comfort in a heartbeat that wasn't supposed to understand him. Their connection became legendary. The playful ambushes at sunrise, the wrestling matches on the living room rug, and the strong, tender ritual Scout performed every night, just to make sure his best friend was still okay. Millions online fell in love with TRM. VT looked like a friendship that would last forever. But nature has a heartbreaking way of rewriting our stories. And 2 years later, Scout would face the one pain even a oiled heart isn't ready for. A love so deep, it nearly destroyed him. A goodbye that proved love doesn't end. It transforms. This is the journey of grief, healing, and the second chance that saved a bobcat's life. The call came late on a cold Tuesday night, the kind of call every wildlife rehabilitator fears. A construction crew had cleared a patch of land in rural Montana, unknowingly disrupting a hidden den. The motor vanished. And in her place, trembling under its rotted shadow, was a scrap of spotted fur barely clinging to life. His name would be Scout. At just 4 weeks old, Scout was more fire than fear, a blue-eyed tempest hissing at the world, all 2 pounds of him shaking with hunger and fear. Mark, a seasoned rearer, brought the our-referent bobcat cub into his home, unaware that he wasn't the only one watching. From the doorway stood Charlie. Charlie, a 6-year-old shepherd mix with soft erythroid fur and the gentlest soul Montana ever raised. A rescue himself, he had become the unofficial caretaker of every creature that passed through Mark's door. But a bobcat was different. A bobcat came with rules, wild, unpredictable, fiercely untamed. For 2 weeks, Scout remained in a heated enclosure, pacing with restless frustration. He chirped into the dark at night, calling for a matter who wouldn't answer. He was too socialized for the wild, too wild for the world of house pets. He lived in the in-between. But one evening, fate slipped through a forgotten latch. The house fell strangely silent. No clittering of Charlie's nails, no soft whines. Mark rushed into the living room and froze. Charlie lay on the rug, paws outstretched. And between TRM, curled like a trembling leaf, was Scout. The wild cub leaned against the dog's chest as though he had found a heartbeat that finally made sense. Charlie looked up at Mark with eyes that said everything. It's okay. It's mine now. BT was the beginning of something no textbook on animal behavior could explain. Esio would grow quickly, spot as darkening, eyes shifting to molten gold, cheekrows forming the regal look of a lynx. But inside, he remained the cub who trusted Charlie more than the world itself. They slept intertwined, ate side by side, and developed rituals so strong and wonderful that they became legend online. Mornings brought their ridiculous ambush routine. Charlie would trot into the earth, nose to the wind. Scout would flatten himself on the pisha roof, a stealthy wild key with the enthusiasm of a toddler. 10. Whamp. It landed squarely on Charlie's back. Most dogs would snap. Charlie simply braced himself, exhaled dramatically, and rolled over so Scout could pin him. And then there was the dinner ritual, the one that melted the internet. Scout, instinctively a possessive eater, would always check on Charlie first. It stand on his hind legs, place his paws on Charlie's shoulders, and press his nose deep into the dog's ear. 18 seconds, brain shan, purring like a diesel engine. Only 10 would hit. Is checking if Charlie is still in there, Mark joked. But deep down, he knew it was love. Despite being capacities, goofy dog, elegant bobcat, they spoke each other's language effortlessly. Charlie understood every twitch of shoulders. Scout understood every wag of Charlie's tail. They became inseparable. And for 2 perfect years, the house was alive with their joy, their taunts, their play fights, their gentle breathing as they napped in the sun. Millions online fell in love with TRM. They were proof that friendship could transcend species, instinct, and nature itself. but nature, as always, his other plans.at began with a stumble. Charlie missed a step on the porch. Then he struggled during playtime. For the first time ever, Scout didn't ambush him. Instead, he walked quietly to Charlie's side and rubbed his cheek against the dog's leg, chafing with concern. Mark took him to the vet. The diagnosis shattered the word. Hemangiosarcoma. Aggressive. Terminal. A few weeks left. The house transformed overnight. Scout, the wild bobcat meant to roam miles of territory, shrank his ward to a single room wherever Charlie lay. He groomed him, part for him, stood watch over him. He refused to leave the rook where Charlie rested. His every breath since it was the dog who had raised him, taught him, loved him. When Charlie whimpered, Scout cried out until Mark responded. When Charlie could no longer stand, Scout caroled round him like a shield. It was no longer friendship. It was devotion. And then one rainy November afternoon, Charlie slipped away. The vet came to the house. Scout watched everything through a glass door, silent, still, golden eyes burning with worry. When it was over, Mark opened the door. Scout approached the body. He sniffed Charlie's pulse, his muzzle, his fear. Then he pressed his nose into Charlie's ear one last time. No tail thump. No sigh. No heartbeat. Scout pulled back. And from deep within him came a sound Mark would never forget, a trembling, hollow moan. It was the sound of a heart breaking. After Charlie's pissing, Scout fell apart. He stopped eating. Stopped playing. Stopped sleeping on the rook where Maurice lived. At night, he paced the house calling for Charlie. He checked every spot Charlie was set to nap. He ran to the oak tree, waiting for an ambush that never came. He returned inside and caroled on the cold hardwood floor, alone. Mark feared he would lose Scout too. Nothing helped. Until one night, scrolling through old videos, Mark found hope. He placed Charlie's orthopedic bed in the living room. Set an pot on it. Pressed play. Charlie's bark filled the room. Shouts shot up. He approached the screen slowly, trembling, hopeful. He climbed onto the bed and watched, and watched, and watched. And for the first time in weeks, Scout lay down. Next to the video. Next to the echo of the friend he loved. It wasn't a cure. But it was a feeling. Gradually, Scout's appetite returned. His eyes brightened. His world expanded beyond grief. But he was still lonely. Mark knew what he needed. Not a replacement for Charlie, but a heartbeat. And a result, a clumsy, oversized, blachkant hitty puppy with paws like dinner plates and the personality of a malfunctioning clown. Nothing like Charlie. But somehow, perfect. At first, Scout wanted nothing to do with him. He observed from high shelves with regal disdain as Azurul tripped, tumbled, and befriended the vacuum cleaner. But curiosity softened resentment. The breakthrough came one evening when Azurul spun too fast and fell on his backseat, staring up at Scout with wide, innocent eyes. He wagged his tail. And licked Scout's nose. Scout froze. Sneezed. Then walked to his football. Acceptance. A new beginning. A new chapter, not as deep as the bond he hit with Charlie, but gentle, warm, healing. And slowly, Scout returned to life, also outgrew into a 95-pound gentle giant with a hilarious bark and a heart too big for his body. Scout, now older and grayer, watched over him like a wise uncle. They were not Charlie and Scout. They were something else, something quieter, lighter, but still beautiful. Sometimes, in the afternoon sun, Scout would walk to a sleeping Azurult, circle once or twice, and lie beside him, not on him, but close enough to feel a heartbeat. Mark would watch a framed photo of Charlie sitting on the mantel. One evening at dinner, Scout finished eating, walked to Azurult, and gently rubbed his cheek along the dog's jowling, a mark of affection, of family. It wasn't the old ritual. That belonged to Charlie alone. But it was new. It was love. And it meant Scout had survived his grief. He had learned that when the heart breaks, it doesn't shatter. It expands. The sun set over Montana, casting a warm glow on two very different creatures sharing the same patch of golden light. Not the same as before. Never will be. But good. Warm. Alive. And for a bobcat named Scout, it was enough. It started with a rescue call on a cold Montana night. A construction crew had unknowingly destroyed a bobcat den, leaving behind a single hour efferent cap trembling inside a crate. Mark, a wildlife rehabilitator, took the helpless creature home. The Kaplater named Scout was only 4 weeks old, tiny but fierce, hissing at a word far bigger and scarier than he could comprehend. Watching from the doorway was Charlie, a issue shepherd mich with eyes, gentle eyes. A rescue dog himself, Charlie had helped foster dozens of animals over the years. But nothing prepared Mark for the moment Scout escaped HAS enclosure. Instead of chaos, there was peace. Scout leaned into Charlie's chest, trembling but trusting. Charlie lay perfectly still, letting HAS breathing to match the tiny cup. That moment marked the beginning of a bond no one could explain, a wild cat and a domestic dog becoming brothers. As Scout grew, so did their connection. They slept caroled together. They wrestled gently every morning. They developed rituals, Scout doing HAS hilarious, brain shan, na press into Charlie's ear before every meal. The internet fell in love with their videos, two animals who should have feared each other, but instead shared the purest form of family. For 2 perfect years, the house was filled with joy, thumps, pounces, purrs, and wagging tails. But nature hit a heartbreak waiting just ahead. The first sign was small. Charlie stumbled on the porch steps. Then he hesitated during playtime. HAS tail wagged slower. HAS breathing strained. Scout noticed immediately. Instead of ambushing him from the roof, Scout simply walked over and pressed HAS cheek gently against Charlie's leg, letting out a soft chuff of concern. Mark took Charlie to the vet, and their ward collapsed. Imangia sarcome. Aggressive. Terminal. Their yearful home shifted into a quiet hospice. Scout refused to leave Charlie's side. He groomed him. Part for him. Slept caroled against him. HAS wild instincts shrank to the size of one rug, the rug where Charlie lay resting. And when the time came on a rainy November afternoon, the vet helped Charlie pass peacefully at home. Scout watched through a glass door, silent and tense, until Mark led him into the room. Scout approached Charlie's body slowly. He sniffed HAS paws. He sniffed HAS muzzle. And then, with heartbreaking gentleness, he pressed HAS nose into Charlie's ear, performing their ritual one last time. There was no wake. No warm sigh. Only silence. Scout released a la, halamon, a sound Mark had never heard from a bobcat. A sound of grief so deep it shook the floorboards. The weeks that followed were devastating. Scout stopped eating. Stopped playing. Wandered the house calling for the friend who would never return. Until Mark hit one last idea. He placed Charlie's old dog bed in the living room, set up an iPad, and played old videos, Charlie barking, running, sleeping. Scout froze. Approached. Watched. Then caroled against the glowing screen, and slept for the first time in weeks. It wasn't a cure, but it was a feeling. Enough for Scout to slowly return to life. But he was still lonely. He needed a heartbeat. 2 months later, Mark found Azurult, a flappy, oversized black-and hitty puppy with the clumsiest paws and the happiest spirit. Nothing like Charlie, yet perfect in HAS on chaotic way. Scout wanted nothing to do with him at first. From atop HAS cat tree, he watched the puppy tumble around the house like a living cartoon. Slowly, curiosity replaced grief. The breakthrough came when Azurult startled, fell on HAS backseat, then wagged HAS entire body at Scout and licked HAS nose. Scout froze, sneezed, then walked to HAS ball. Acceptance. Over time, a new RHYTHM formed. Scout took on the role of mentor, the wise uncle to a puppy who had too much energy and too little coordination. Azurult became the warmth Scout didn't know he needed. Their bond wasn't the same as the legendary friendship Scout shared with Charlie. Some love sat too secret to repeat. But life had returned. Sometimes, when Azurult slept in a sunbeam, Scout would circle him once, twice, then carol beside him, back pressed gently to the dog's warm fur. Mark would watch them with Charlie's framed photo on the mantel behind him, a reminder of the dog who taught a wild heart how to love. Scout had survived the grief. He had learned that love doesn't disappear when someone is gone. It changes shape. It becomes memory. And it makes room for something new. Different cells. Different stories. Same warmth. For Scout. That was enough.